welcome to Barca News. It is August 11th, 2026, and the day is finally here. Praise be the Lord, because the day is finally here. The day I did not think was going to come. It is here. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have reached an agreement with PSG for the transfer of Ferran Torres. And I gotta say, I am on cloud 9. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Bo. And yes, the day is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. The day I've been looking forward to for the past 4 or 5 years, pretty much since the day Barcelona signed Ferran Torres from Manchester City. The day is finally here, and that is that Ferran is finally going to leave. Yes, it's finally happening because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have reached an agreement with PSG for the transfer of the delusional Ferran Torres. Now, of course, all this began right before the World Cup, where news broke that Luis Enrique was interested in Ferran Torres because PSG were expecting lots of exits this summer. Obviously, Gonzalo Ramos has already left. Koulibaly has already left. Barcola's on his way out. I don't know if he's left yet, but I'm pretty sure he's on his way out. So, of course, PSG needed to replace some of their attackers, and Luis Enrique had set his sights on Ferran Torres, given that he knows him from back when Luis Enrique was the coach of the Spanish national team. Now, when the World Cup began, Ferran Torres was asked about this. He did not confirm it, but also he did not close the door completely, just saying that he was focused on the World Cup and on the match against Cape Verde, which was Spain's first match in the group stages. And then as the World Cup progressed, of course, these rumors started to intensify. And finally, when the World Cup was over, Ferran Torres went on that media tour here in the U.S., making a fool out of himself, first saying that, he had a contract with Barcelona, but in football, you never know. And then making the ridiculous statements that if Barcelona wanted to keep him, they needed to show him love. Yeah, okay, bro. But anyways, that, of course, was confirmation that he did indeed wanted to go to PSG. Of course, this whole time while all this was going on, Barcelona's plan was to renew Ferran Torres, right? Ferran Torres' contract expired in next summer in 2027. Barcelona had already met with Ferran's agent prior to the World Cup to let him know that they wanted to renew him. However, the renewal had to happen in September due to financial fair play issues. And that's when Ferran Torres, of course, requested a huge increase in his salary, because with Lewandowski gone, Ferran Torres wanted to be the guy, right? The number 9, the big shot, the big star, the world-class striker that he isn't, he never has been, and never will be, right? And accordingly, of course, he wanted to get paid like a world-class striker. Barcelona said no, of course, because we're not delusional like Ferran. We know what Ferran is capable of. He's a substitute at best, right? He's a substitute in Barcelona. He's a substitute in the Spanish national team. And while he's going to be a substitute at PSG as well. So because Barcelona didn't want to meet his financial demands, of course, Ferran Torres thought that was Barcelona not showing him love. And that's when he agreed to join PSG, which, of course, it is ridiculous. Ferran Torres should have never been signed for Barcelona to begin with. The only reason Barcelona signed him was because we were in a very dark period where we needed to rebuild our squad, but we didn't have money to afford anything better. And that's why we signed Ferran. Not because he was good, not because he was Barca level. He was never Barca level. We signed him just because of the circumstances. Because had the club been financially healthy, Barcelona wouldn't have looked twice at Ferran Torres. And despite that, this ungrateful person decides to say that Barcelona needed to show him love when, to begin with, he had no business being in Barcelona. And secondly, Barcelona were willing to renew him. Like, you didn't even have any business being here to begin with. And then Barcelona wanted to extend your contract even further. I mean, how much more love did Ferran Torres need? But anyways, Ferran Torres decided to join PSG. He communicated that to Barcelona. And then, of course, that's when Barcelona, because we're not Atletico de Madrid, we don't hold any hostages, we don't hold players against their will. Barcelona began negotiations with PSG yesterday, Monday.
PSG made a first offer of 40 million euros, but Barcelona said absolutely not. They rejected that offer, and today they continued negotiations all day, and finally an agreement has been reached where PSG are going to pay 50 million euros fixed plus 5 million euros in variables. And Ferran Torres will officially become a PSG player. He had already reached a full agreement with PSG as far as his salary, his contract, etc., etc. It's going to be higher than that, what Barcelona were willing to offer him. And, well, I got to say, I am on cloud 9 to see this clown finally leave. A clown that I've been wanting to see out of this club for a very, very long time. And fortunately, it's finally here. Because let's not forget, had Ferran Torres not become super delusional with that goal that he scored in the World Cup, Barcelona's plan was to renew him. So not only would we have to have Ferran for the next season until 2027 when his contract was set to expire, but Barcelona wanted to renew him again, and it would have probably renewed him another 3-4 seasons. So he would have had to deal with this clown another 3, 4, maybe 5 seasons. So I am very, very, very happy, very ecstatic that Ferran Torres is finally leaving, because like I said before, he had no business being at Barcelona to begin with, let alone having to, put up with his crap for the next 4 or 5 years, where he ghosts for 2-3 months and then finally scores a goal, and all of a sudden he thinks he's it and just walks up to the fans and start doing this, like talk now, as if he's been scoring consistently and the fans were criticizing him, disproportionately. But I'm very, very, very excited because not only we get rid of this clown that had no business being in Barcelona to begin with, but also we make up our entire investment, because Barcelona had paid 55 million euros. They're saying there was 5 million euros variable, so we probably ended up paying 60 for him. But hey, if we end up getting 55 to pay 5 million euros to have Ferran all those years, I think this is a win-win situation. And this is even the more important part. Not only we get rid of this clown, not only we make our whole investment back, we also save 8 million euros, because there was a clause in the contract that if we renewed Ferran, we had to pay Manchester City another 8 million euros. And then the cherry on top, the huge, massive, giant cherry on top, because the departure of this clown will allow Barcelona to now finalize the signing of Rodri. Now, as you know by now, Rodri was set to join Real Madrid. He had reached full agreement with Real Madrid, and then he decided, why would I want to go to that clown, that circus called Real Penalties? So he decided instead to join Barcelona. He communicated that to Barcelona. He also communicated that to Real Madrid. Of course, Barcelona had no plans of reinforcing the midfield because we have an overbooking in that position. Rodri was someone that Barcelona had inquired about, but not really had any real interest in signing him, because for the same reason, because of the overbooking of the midfield. But once Rodri called and said, hey, I want to join, of course, we couldn't pass up this opportunity to sign the best defensive midfielder in the entire world. So Barcelona got to work. They reached full agreement with Rodri so he could join Barcelona, and then they began negotiations with Manchester City. Now, Barcelona's first offer of 40 million euros for Rodri was rejected, because even though Manchester City understand that, yes, Rodri has 1 year left on his contract, and yes, he is 30 years old, and yes, he just came back from an injury, they're still not going to give him away for free, right? He is still a Ballon d'Or winner, a World Cup winner, one of the best, the best defensive midfielder in the world, so they're not just going to give him away. So they were demanding 80 million euros, but it's reported that they're probably going to settle somewhere in the middle, around 60 million euros. So Barcelona, now that they have finalized Ferran's move, they're going to take that money and put it towards an increased offer for Rodri. And of course, this is great news. So an incredible, incredible day for us Barcelona fans, for the club. Incredible job by Deco, because again, with this move, we get rid of a clown that should have never been there. We make our investment back. We save 8 million euros, and we're going to complete the signing of the best defensive midfielder in the entire world. Now, Ferran Torres was supposed to report to the Ciudad Esportiva tomorrow, back to preseason training now that his vacation is over. He has, of course, requested permission from the club, and it has been granted. So he doesn't have to report to training, because if you don't report to training when you're supposed to, you get fined. You can get fined by the club, right? So he has permission. So he will show up to the Ciudad Esportiva tomorrow, but only to say goodbye to his teammates, pick up his stuff, and go back and fly to Paris, where he's going to make us Barcelona fans very happy by being far away from our beloved club. As far as Rodri, he's supposed to report to training on Friday. So Barcelona are hoping to finalize the signing of Rodri before Friday. That way he doesn't have to report to training and then have to report to Barcelona's training. Obviously, that will be inconvenient for all parties involved. So who knows? Maybe we can expect an official announcement tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, about Barcelona signing Rodri. We'll see. Of course, I will be here to report if that happens, or if and when that happens, because, ladies and gentlemen, Ferran is finally gone. Rejoice, Barcelona fans. Go out in the streets, light up fireworks, hug your loved ones, kiss your significant others. Celebrate, because a clown that should have never been there to begin with is finally gone. And God bless that moment that Ferran Torres scored that winning goal in the World Cup, because not only did that goal give Spain a World Cup, and of course gave us the happiness of being able to see Lamine, Kouarsi, Pedri lift the World Cup, but also is what allowed us to get these 55 million euros for Ferran, because without that goal, we would have been lucky to get 20 for that bum. So thank you, Ferran, for scoring that goal, because that allowed us to recoup our investment, which honestly wasn't even an investment, because we hardly got anything back from it. But it's an amazing day as a Barcelona fan. The good news continue to pile up. And with that, there's not much more news to share with you in regards to this move. I will be uploading a video in an hour, because there is other news that's not related to Ferran or Rodri. Just wanted to bring you this amazing news. Ferran, ladies and gentlemen, is finally gone. God bless Barcelona. What an amazing day. Let's celebrate. But first, let's do a few comments, and then we'll end this. Jose Fernandez says, hello, Mo. This looks like a transfer window where some academy players will have to go. Players need development and are getting older and are unable to break through onto the first team squad. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, about some academy players. But yeah, it's looking like it. We are blessed to have an academy that's the best academy in the world, that produces so much great talent. But of course, there's so much talent you can use in the first team. You're only allowed 26 players. You cannot have hundreds on the first team. And this is where I think Barcelona are really missing out on a great opportunity to monetize our academy. Now, Barcelona only spends 6 million euros a year on the academy. That's insane. I mean, the return on the investment on those 6 million yearly is insane. I mean, Lamine Yamal alone is worth 220 million euros, right? And we only spend 6 million on the academy, on the whole academy, not on the one player or one team, the entire academy, all the way from the 4 or 5 year olds all the way to the Juvenil A, the under 19 team, right? 6 million. And then we produce players whose value becomes 220 million, like Lamine or Pau Kouarsi, which I think he's at 150. Like, it's insane. And this is why I think Barcelona are missing out on a great opportunity to generate money from the academy, because not all those players are going to make it to the first team. It's just impossible. There's so many, there's only 11 players on the field, and, between the starters and the substitutes, you can only allow 26 players. And, those 26 players don't change every year, right? You end up with players that end up playing for many, many, many years. So that spot never opens up until another 10 years or something, right? And that's where Barcelona should be, picking obviously the best from the academy for the first team, and the rest, they should be selling them for a lot of freaking money. But instead, we either loan them out, and then they leave for free, like Astralaga, or we give them away for a few million euros like we did with Gianbergili, right? And I think that's where we're really, really messing up. I think we have a great asset right there in La Masia that could be pumping money, just printing money for us, and talent, of course. But we use the talent that we need and then sell the rest, and we could be making so much money. But instead, we end up always either giving away the players that we don't need or loaning them out until they leave as free agents, which I don't understand. the logic behind that. The Rebel Pilot says there's been whispers of Koundé being linked with Arsenal and his replacement might be Pedro Porro. There is a lot of interest in Koundé right now, but so far nothing confirmed as far as him wanting to leave. It's not ruled out. You know, Koundé has said that he wants to remain in Barcelona. Barcelona would only consider a big offer. That doesn't mean that they're placing him on sale. But of course, there could always be a team that whispers in his ear and convinces him. But as of now, nothing. Costa says, man, this World Cup was the best thing that happened to Barcelona. 8 players in the winning squad, and we are banking on Ferran and getting rid of him on top of that. Yeah, 100%. I agree. And Earl says, have you noticed how Deco's effectiveness has improved since he started working with Flick? I think it has part of it, yes, but also it has to do a lot, I think, with Joao Amaral. Because if you notice, ever since Joao Amaral joined and became Deco's right-hand man and the person in charge of scouting, this is when we're starting to see all these great signings, which is still kudos to Deco, because before that, Deco, I feel like he was way out of his depth. And it's normal, right? He went from being an agent to a sporting director of one of the biggest clubs in the world. That's a huge jump. That's like going from, I don't know, being a buyer of Apple iPhones to the CEO of Apple, right? You know, it's like, it's a huge jump. And, you know, it was pretty big of Deco to realize, hey, I need help, and to bring someone like Joao Amaral, who has been sporting director of many clubs and has come up through these clubs first, like as, you know, in the scouting department, and then working his way up to higher and higher and higher roles until eventually being sporting director. So Joao Amaral had a lot of experience in this world. Deco did it. Deco brings Joao Amaral, and boom, the two together are becoming the dynamic duo. So this is not only kudos to Joao Amaral, who's brought all that experience to him in the club, but this is also kudos to Deco, who was able to recognize, hey, I'm out of my depth. Let me bring someone who knows what they're doing to help me out. And thank God he did, because I think the two of them have been doing an amazing job. The Jeff says, I'm so glad our money for center forward is still intact with the sale of that scrub Ferran. It should be, in theory. Of course, with Barcelona, you never know. Abe says, sup, Mo? I'm Peruvian. Been following you for a while. Great job on the news. I live close by in Connecticut. Let's go. Peru's clave. I'm actually going to Peru at the end of the month. I'm very excited for that. That cool kid. What up, cool kid? Says, showing love from Jax. What's Jax? Jacksonville? Jax. Jamaica? I don't know. I think if the mister says we don't need a 9, I trust him. Well, he didn't say we don't need a 9, right? He said that he wants a 9, but if they don't bring him a 9, he'll figure out a solution. So Flick has never said that he doesn't want a 9. He actually said the total opposite, right? We reviewed those statements here on the channel. He wants a 9, but if they don't bring him one, he'll figure out a solution, because it's Hansi-Dieter Flick, and Hansi-Dieter Flick always finds a solution. And my man Malik says, like and subscribe, guys. Yes, please hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment, do all of that. Hype. Oh, hype. That's a new thing in YouTube. I always forget. I guess I don't even know what the hype does. I guess if you hype, it promotes the video. But then what's the difference between a hype and a like? I mean, is a hype better than a like? I don't freaking know. I should. I am. At the end of the day, I do make videos on YouTube, but I have no idea. But anyways, hype, like, comment, subscribe, do all that. Help a brother out. And with that, it's a wrap. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in on this short live. I just wanted to bring you this cool, amazing, beautiful news. Celebrate. Go celebrate, because the day is finally here. The bum, Ferran Torres, is finally gone. Now, I'm going to upload another video shortly, so stay tuned to the channel. And as always, Bis Garza.